The appearance of this group of Alaskans in Paris's main railroad terminal goes almost unnoticed amid the thousands of hurrying French travelers. The Alaskans arrived in Paris by plane this morning and are on their way to Nancy, a city in eastern France. They have not come to France as tourists, however. They are actors, and they have been invited to Nancy to appear at the Theater of Nations, an international dramatic festival sponsored by the United Nations. There, they will perform an unconventional version of the classic Greek tragedy Antigone, adapted by playwright David Hunsacker. The play's 5-member cast are all Yup'ik Eskimos from the western Alaskan village of Toksook Bay. For many of them, this is the first time out of Alaska, let alone touring in a foreign country. The train ride from Paris to Nancy passes through some of the richest farmland in Europe, not exactly the same landscape the cast of Antigone calls home. The Yup'ik Eskimo village of Toksook Bay on the Bering Sea coastline. This is a portion of America where nature and the cycle of the seasons dominate the lives of all who live here. The annual migration of millions of waterfowl, fish, and land and sea mammals are watched over with extreme care because their coming and going, even in 1984, is critical to the subsistence lifestyle still practiced by the 500 inhabitants of this village. It is exactly that traditional lifestyle that attracted playwright David Hunsacker to Toksook Bay and provided him with the inspiration and background for his adaptation of the tragedy of Antigone. In his hands, the play has become Yup'ik Antigone.
It started when I read an account someplace of the old-time Yup'ik ceremonials, and I was struck with a real similarity between the style of the ceremonial and the style of ancient Greek drama, which were both essentially a kind of secular and religious sort of thing that at the same time was artistic. It offered a chance for singing and dancing and the use of masks. A lot of those things were just really similar. The fact that they were usually held at some kind of annual festival. In the case of the Greeks, the Dionysian rituals would have, and in the case of the Eskimos, some things like the messenger feast, or the bladder feast, or these sorts of things.
In Sophocles' 2,500-year-old drama, Hunsacker found the perfect vehicle to bridge the gaps in time and space that separate the two cultures. Having convinced the elders of Toksook Bay that the project was worthy, Hunsacker next turned his attention to finding actors. He decided to keep the cast small and to ask each actor to play several roles. He finally selected Paul Moses, a fisherman and carpenter, Teresa John, the only member of the cast with previous dramatic experience, and 3 Toksook High School students, Darlene Sippery, James Asuluk, and Martina Woods. Hunsacker had planned to use the English translation of Antigone, but after arriving in Toksook Bay, he decided on a different course.
Well, my idea had been originally to do the piece in English, knowing that we were going to tour it to. We'd already worked out the tour, and we were going to primarily the main English-speaking communities in the state, Anchorage, Fairbanks, and so on. I hadn't really considered anything else. But when I got here, I met with a group of elders from the community who spoke strictly Yup'ik, and also met David Charley, who's a teacher at the school and who ultimately translated the piece into Yup'ik. And they pointed out that one of the reasons that the culture is so strong here and so vital is that Yup'ik is still the first language, which it clearly is. Yup'ik is spoken in the homes, and most of the older people speak strictly Yup'ik. And that's a big part of it. And in order, if we're to truly represent something to do with this place and this culture, that it wouldn't make sense to do it in anything other than Yup'ik.
Encouraged by the successful run of the play in Alaska, Hunsacker entered Yup'ik Antigone in the competition for the Theater of Nations. To the surprise and delight of the cast and crew, the play was selected. The Alaskan troupe was especially honored as one of only 2 American dramatic ensembles whose production was selected for the 1984 Theater of Nations Festival. Following a winter of performing Yup'ik Antigone throughout the state, the company has just about completed preparations for their international tour, a tour that will take them half a world away, to France, to the Theater of Nations. Traveling towards Nancy, the train enters the Lorraine district of eastern France, lying close to the borders of Germany and Switzerland. Finally, Nancy Station, and the chance to recover from 3 days of continuous traveling and 8,000 miles of jet lag. The following morning, over a continental breakfast, the members of the company took their first French lesson.
Alors là, il y a 5 cafés.
And then you should bring it in the
Jus d'orange. Un jus d'orange.
The rest of the day is spent much as any group of tourists would pass time in a new land. Nancy is one of 3 cities in the Lorraine that co-host the Theater of Nations. The other 2 are Metz, north of here, and Epinal, about 75 miles south of Nancy. During this century's 2 world wars, the entire Lorraine region was the center of heavy fighting and great loss of life. This is a city rich in history. During the early 18th century, the deposed Polish king Stanislaus Leszczynski inherited the Duchy of Lorraine. He settled nearby and became a patron of the arts. The buildings surrounding the city's central square were constructed by Stanislaus and housed a military academy and an institute for scientific study. Later that afternoon, the troupe discovers one of France's most heralded and imitated contributions to Western civilization, Café Society. Next morning, the cast and crew of Yup'ik Antigone visit the offices of the Theater of Nations, located in a remodeled factory.
But it's the name of, of the region, of the land here, of Lorraine, typical name from here.
Here, translators are assigned to them for the duration of the troupe's stay in Nancy.
Frederick, what was the name of the restaurant we went to last night?
Kate Bounds is the production coordinator for the company. She'll work in the theater's control room, behind the audience, orchestrating the lighting and sound effects. Each acting troupe from the 25 countries represented at the Theater of Nations is assigned its own playhouse, located in one of the 3 host cities. Named after one of France's greatest writers, the André Malraux Cultural Center will be home to the Yup'ik Antigone cast and crew for the next 10 days.
Aha! Very good. Now we have to take this all off.
A closer look at the André Malraux Playhouse reveals a small theater made to order for the very limited needs of the Alaskan Acting Company. The scope of the Antigone production is modest compared to the size of some of the other companies at this year's dramatic festival. The Soviets have sent their internationally acclaimed Bolshoi Theater, while the West Germans have brought the Schiller Theater, boasting over 150 actors and technicians. In contrast to those larger companies, the 5 actors and 5 crew members of the Alaskan production are all required to do double and triple duty as carpenters, gaffers, painters, and all-around stagehands. Jim Simard, the electrician, is the company's technical expert. Here he discusses with his French counterpart how he plans to reproduce the blue northern lighting he remembers from his visits to Toksook Bay.
Sky.
Soleil départi. Sunset.
Sunset.
While the rest of the company attends to the final staging details, Hunsacker and the cast rehearse in a nearby park. The play's European premiere is just a few days away. Tonight is the first of 3 performances of Yup'ik Antigone at the Theatre of Nations. Each performance will be attended mainly by members of the other acting companies at the festival and by French theatre professionals. They are about to see a production of Antigone that is straightforward and uncomplicated, a single setting, requiring very little shifting of scenery, and a play of about 90 minutes duration, broken into several short acts. Between the acts, the storyteller, taking the part of the Greek chorus, comments on the action. Those comments are reinforced by singing and dancing performed by the cast members. Backstage, the cast readies themselves for their international debut.
Quite red in my hair.
Boy, I hope I can have all my voice. Boy, this afternoon I barely got through the play. I'm ready.
In dialogue and in theme, Yup'ik Antigone is very close to Sophocles' original. Both the Greek play, written in the 5th century BC, and the adapted version address the same universal problems: the nature of political power and respect for authority, the limits to which loyalty and faith can be stretched, and the struggle that ensues when a single individual's sense of what is right conflicts with her duty to society. Hunsacker's adaptation contains many elements of traditional Yup'ik culture. The action takes place in a village several hundred years ago. The storyteller opens the play by explaining the curse placed upon Antigone, her sister, and her two brothers due to the incestuous relationship of their parents. In the first act, Antigone, played by Darlene Sippery, is talking to her sister Ismene, portrayed by Teresa John. The women anguish over the events of the previous day, in which their two brothers, representing opposing military forces, killed each other in combat. Only one of the brothers, Eteocles, who died defending their village, will be given a proper burial. The second brother, Polynices, organized a revolt against the village government. Because of his efforts to take the village by force, he will not be given a state burial. The headman of the village is Creon, Antigone's uncle. He has ordered that the body of Polynices be left on the tundra, to be eaten by dogs and ravens. Antigone is outraged by this idea. She tells Ismene that their brother Polynices also deserves a proper ritual burial. If he is denied it, she says, his spirit cannot rest in peace. For actress Teresa John, the problem presented in the play is exactly reflected in the culture of her own people.
But that's the value. The respect for the life of a person is very important, traditionally, and even today. So they have to bury the dead. They don't just put it anywhere on the ground or leave it out in the tundra or in the ocean, anything like that. So they always paid respect for the dead because they believe that the spirits will wander around, and they want to put away their soul and body so that they may be securely put away.
Antigone decides to defy Creon's ruling. She will bury Polynices, no matter what the consequences. At first, Ismene is fearful about opposing Creon's ruling. She argues that if they bury the body of their brother, they will be breaking Creon's law. Ismene is confused and worried as Antigone leaves in search of Polynices' body. Against a background of dancing and drumming, the storyteller prepares the audience for the next scene.
Sometimes, when the hunting is bad and the fish have all forsaken our nets, our shaman will appeal to the powerful spirit that inhabits the moon. It is he that controls the animals, and sometimes he hears our shaman, and he has pity on us, and sends the seals again, and the whitefish. But sometimes he ignores us, and remains only a white ball of ice, cold and unmoved in the sky, and then we starve and die. Life can be a time of great sorrow, and how much greater if the sorrow comes from the people themselves, and not from the spirits from the other side. How much greater the sorrow.
Mixed kan ik nog van doen.
Dan moet je wel goed veel.
Hij nog zo om te kijken, nog dat we maar naar
Die naam de man niet te goed.
geen richter.
Creon, played by Paul Moses, explains why he has refused to allow the burial of Polynices. A sentry, portrayed by James Asulak, rushes in and tells Creon that someone has dressed the body of Polynices and then buried it. The headman rages against the sentry who has brought him this news. Creon sends him in search of the person who has disobeyed his orders. The sentry returns shortly with Antigone. She refuses to recant and defends her actions in much the same way Yup'ik young people might deal with their elders.
The elders used to tell me, you may listen to the elders as long as they are telling you the truth. If you know that they are telling you something that is wrong morally, and that is wrong on behalf of everybody, don't listen to them then.
She says that in giving her brother a proper burial, she has fulfilled her responsibility to his spirit and to the ancient traditions of their people. Although she acknowledges Creon's authority as headman, Antigone maintains there are older laws than his. Creon is infuriated by Antigone. Ismene tries, unsuccessfully, to intervene between the two. She reminds Creon that his son Haman is Antigone's fiancé. Creon remains convinced of his authority to be lawmaker and orders that Antigone be walled up in a cave. During the interlude, the storyteller and chorus speak and sing of the weakness of men.
We sing to the sun as she leaves. We sing to the moon as he approaches. We sing to the stars. We sing to the spirits of the air, of the sea, of the earth. We sing to Raven, the creator of the world, wherever he may be. We sing to these things. We plead with these things. We are frightened. We are alone. Darkness is coming, and we are alone.
In the next scene, Creon's son Haman pleads for Antigone's life. He assures his father that he respects him in all things, but he also tells him that the villagers are grumbling about Creon's harsh treatment of Antigone. Haman and his father lose patience with each other. Their shouting soon turns to violence. Haman runs off, swearing that Creon will never see him again. Later, the shaman warns Creon that this course of action will produce terrible results. At first, Creon scorns the shaman. Soon afterward, however, the headman becomes frightened by the shaman's predictions of doom. Creon finally relents. He orders a state burial for Polynices and the release of Antigone from the cave where she has been imprisoned. But his change of heart has come too late. A messenger tells him that both Antigone and Haman have killed themselves, she by hanging and he by his own sword. The messenger further relates that when Creon's wife learned her son was dead, she too took her own life. Creon is devastated. He admits that he has been responsible for all 3 deaths. He leaves the village, punishing himself for his misdeeds. The final processional closes out the play. At festival headquarters next morning, Hunsacker and the actors meet with members of the international press to talk over the previous evening's performance.
We wanted a forum to present some of the ancient traditional Eskimo masks, the use of Greek choral loads, and just generally wanted to compare the 2 styles.
Bien, donc ça pouvait en même temps être l'occasion de sortir les masques traditionnels esquimaux avec le roi de la galerie.
I want to present our culture and our traditional lifestyle to people, because today it's very hard because it's not written down in many places. Because we're isolated, you know, writers don't come in and out and write all about our tradition. So the stories, they're orally passed down from generation to generation. They're not written down, so you have to have a good memory so you can pass it down to us.
Bien. Alors, elle tient d'abord à dire que
Later that morning, in a less formal setting, the cast of Antigone listens while Marie-Elise reads the reviews of last night's performance from the French newspapers.
Here it's good humor.
Yeah?
So we stop to...
You know, when the boy go in the corner,
Yes, yes.
he doesn't want to see anybody.
The what?
He's the verb is what? You know, I don't. That's my dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a knife. That means. Do you understand the word knife? Knife. No.
Oh,
knife. Yes. Knife. No, naive. Naive. You understand this word? Yes. Under the picture, that means.
You're so naive.
No. When.
I don't think I want to hear it.
They are joined by a representative from the theater company from mainland China.
Stopped in Paris for 2 days, then we come.
Are you going to be here until, excuse me, end of the month? Or
I think we will stay until the...
Following a second performance in Nancy and a third in Epinal, the company's work at the Theater of Nations is complete. Members of the Polish, Argentine, and Chilean theaters join with the Alaskan cast for a farewell meeting in Nancy's Stanislas Square. Although their time in Nancy is over, there is a second major acting engagement awaiting the cast of Antigone in New York City, in Off-Broadway's most famous theater, LaMama. But before the flight back to America for that 2-week run, there is one more short trip planned here in France.
Sur le quai, je traîne mes valises. Des valises, j'en ai plein les mains. Des valises sous les yeux, mais je m'en fous. J'ai pas choisi, je sais pas choisir. Alors peu m'importe ce que j'emporte, ce que je laisse, c'est un peu de moi. Faut toujours voir cette petite barge qui m'emmène au large. Et j'ai pensé à tous ces trucs.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little towns.
Back in America, the company has 2 new players, Toksook Bay elders Francis Usugan and Billy Lincoln, who will sing and drum between acts. Similar to many of the cast members, neither has been outside of Alaska before.
If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York.
Formerly a Lower East Side dining hall, the LaMama Theater has become one of New York's most important playhouses.
This theater has been my hero for a long time. It's really humbling to sit in the same place where Sam Shepard and Lanford Wilson and Woody Allen and more than I can even know or think of all opened their first plays here, and where so many great pieces of theater and great, not even just pieces of theater, but movements in theater have happened. It really is, like I say, humbling and terrifying. But at the same time, as we've been rehearsing the last few days and getting ready to open here, I do feel that we've got something that is different, and certainly we've seen a lot of diversity in theater and everything else, culture here in New York City, but I think we managed to come up with something different.
Prior to opening night, a special shoot is arranged for the press.
She's real scared because she might accidentally get away from the group and disappear somewhere where she can't do anything.
How are people different here than in New Village?
Their clothes, how they dress, their food.
What about their food?
They're different from what I eat.
What do you eat at home normally?
Maybe dry fish.
Yes.
Dry food.
Blubber?
Seal oil.
Seal oil.
Yeah, should just take a few minutes. Right. You down there. You want to hurry fast as possible. Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to LaMama Playhouse, and welcome to the Yup'ik Antigone, which is written and directed by David Hunsacker. This is a presentation in association with the Perseverance Theater, Velasca, in the Toksook Village. Very special occasion, the very first time that persons from Alaska are seen on stage at LaMama, in fact, in New York. Women, maybe, but they are, you know, the United States of America, too.
With Frances and Billy providing musical accompaniment, the cast begins the first of a dozen performances in New York. The production is deemed a critical success by the New York papers. Although scheduled to run for almost 2 weeks, the time in New York is cut short by an unforeseen event. 2 older relatives of cast members have fallen gravely ill in Toksook Bay. For the actors, there is only one decision: to get home as quickly as possible.
The young people who are in the play are real people. They don't have any pretense about trying to make a career of acting in the big city or anything like this. And there was something that they regarded something more important than this, this recognition and money that they would have gotten. And as it happened, it was the death of a village elder, and probably the main themes in Antigone are respect for the village elders. Creon gets into trouble when he doesn't listen to them, and respect for the dead. And they felt this respect for the dead. They felt the need to go home, and I guess, after getting over the shock of it, I was really proud of them. And I think that the people in New York that stopped to think about it realized, too, that they really were seeing something of the culture. They weren't just seeing performers who were representing the culture. They were seeing people who were living it. And when the higher call came, they answered it.
We broke the contract because we wanted to go home. And it was more important for us to be home and watch our grandpa die instead of be in New York and do the play. And in that play, Antigone buried her brother because it was more important for her to bury her brother instead of follow Creon's law.